Coming up on Hoge Jahns, Tom Waddle joins the podcast again, but I think for the first time this year. And we are closing out this year by taking a look, kind of a big picture look at some of the qualities about this Bears team that are different. We got numbers to think about. We're moving ahead to the Lions a little bit as well. It is week 18. Here we go on Hoge Jahns. What is up? Welcome in. Hoge Jahns with you one more time in 2025.
Happy New Year!
Jahns, you have no excuse to not make it to midnight tonight, buddy.
Because I slept in?
You got your sleep in?
Dude, that Sunday night game is still kicking my butt.
I know. We talked about it a little bit on the show yesterday. I don't know which show it was because I think I did 6 hours of shows yesterday. Congrats to CHGO getting to 100,000 subscribers. Hi, Katie. Katie's here. She's got a new microphone too, which you're going to hear in numbers to think about. For those of us in the YouTube world, though, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a big deal for the company. And it turned out to be just a really fun celebration last night. We didn't really know when or how it was gonna, when we started that stream, what was gonna happen, and then the way it worked out, and that just, I randomly had my family there too because we were going to the Blackhawks game, and my wife was there in the studio, and she's like, this reminds me of the London post-game show, just the vibes, and it's like kind of half party atmosphere, but it was a good celebration. So thank you to everybody who has supported us at CHGO. And as we close out this year, it's New Year's Eve. Johnsy, it's been fun having you aboard. Big move in July, and having this show, Hoge Jahns, part of it as well. So not just having the Bears win, obviously, has been a bonus and has helped, but it's been a really good year professionally too.
It's great to be here. Yeah.
Hope you feel the same way.
I do. I am so happy I made the move. It's great to be here. What's the next step? Us hitting 30,000 views on our own page here, but it was cool to be part of that show yesterday. It was cool to see. I felt like it got hot there at the end, just in terms of everybody hitting the subscribe button as the day got going. So kind of really cool. Awesome to see.
Yeah, I'm honestly not even really sure what happened that last hour. I sat down. We were kind of doing shifts, and I sat down with Jake Flanagan, our GM, and Kevin Kaduk, who's head of content for All City now, and started as the head of content for just CHGO. He was actually the first voice that opened up CHGO when we launched, and then we had Brandon Spano, our CEO, call in from Denver, and all of a sudden the thing just took off, and before you knew it, we hit 100,000. So that was awesome, and it was cool having everybody there. There were way more tears than I would have expected, including Greg Braggs, and then cried on my shoulder at one point.
Are you sure it wasn't just exhaustion?
I don't think he has slept in the month of December.
Sorry, yeah, I'm interjecting again on you, I know. But here I am up at 2 a.m, tossing and turning, and I go on my phone, and he's holding one of those Twitter chats.
He was on Spaces last night at 2 a.m. Oh my God, we got.
What is going on?
Oh man,
we need a marathon show.
We need an intervention here. What is happening? He's the best. All right, so with it being New Year's Eve, and we greatly appreciate all of your support this year, and please,
this year and going back 14 years, yes, thank you everybody.
Yes, absolutely. But if for some reason you're watching this and you're not already subscribed, or I always say this to our podcast listeners who, because I'm like you, I don't watch a lot of shows on YouTube, believe it or not. When I say you, I'm talking to the podcast listeners right now. I am in your world. I listen to these podcasts in my car, and so, but what I will do is those podcasts I listen to, I will go to their YouTube pages, and I will also hit subscribe just to support them. So if you are one of those people, please do that here for us here at Hoge Jahns. We greatly appreciate it. To close out the year, before we bring in Tommy Waddle, who we're really excited to have on the show today, he's the absolute best. I wanted to just sort of zoom out, because it has been a hell of a year, and it's been a hell of a year for the Bears, who at this time, on December 31st a year ago, had an interim head coach. They were in the middle of a 10-game losing streak, and just were hoping to end it with a win against the Packers, which they did, and it was a great way to kick off 2025. But we didn't know that the Lions were going to lose to the Commanders in the playoffs, and Ben Johnson was going to suddenly be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. So looking back at what things look like for this organization on New Year's Eve a year ago, we came up with 5 words that just describe the 2025 Chicago Bears and how different they are compared to most of I would say, not just 2024, but I would say most of the teams we have covered in the history of this podcast over 11 seasons. And maybe some of those teams have had 1 or 2 of these qualities, but certainly including the 2018 team did not have all 5 of these qualities, that as we're going to call them, that Ben Johnson has quickly applied successfully to this football team to bring them to 11 wins and possibly and hopefully 12 come first game of 2026. So I'll jump right in here with the first one.
Go for it.
And I think this is a big one. I think this is one that we kept coming back to time and time again under the Matt Eberflus era, and are almost probably now taking for granted, because once you have it, you kind of forget about it. But it's accountability. It's accountability. And it was something that Matt Eberflus lacked. It was a big reason why things fell apart after the Hail Mary, because he didn't take accountability for his mistake and all that on the play before the Hail Mary. And then he overcorrected to the point that it wasn't genuine when he tried to take the blame for things. And now it's something that we don't need to talk about because it just exists. But I think it's important, even on that final play against the 49ers the other day. They completely botched that play. Let's call it what it was. The play came in late. I have to imagine there's some blame you could probably put on Caleb in there that they didn't get aligned properly, even though the play did come in late, because I think there's a world in which you want your quarterback to just sort of take charge and fix moments like that are going to happen. But both of them, I thought, took accountability after the game, because Ben immediately said, I got the call in late. Caleb said, you know what? I still could have made the throw at the end of the day, and I dirted the ball. And you can't dirt the ball in the last play of the game. The game's over. Throw it up for an interception. That's better. Give him a chance. So I thought that was a perfect moment of just wrapping up 2025 that showed the accountability that now exists, Johnsy, with this team that did not exist a year ago.
And then you hear him a day later explain to us how he didn't like that field goal drive, the drive that ended in a field goal in the fourth quarter, how he called that game, or how he called that possession, especially towards the end of it, showing more accountability. He's done that really all year, where you ask him about a certain play call or a certain sequence, and he will tell you quite literally, straightforwardly, that I messed up. I didn't like my play call. I got to be better in this situation. That is so meaningful in the locker room, like especially after what happened under Matt Eberflus, but just like in general for players to hear that, feel that, knowing that their coach is willing to admit his own mistakes. Like, because that's all part of the accountability. It's got to exist throughout the entire building, not just in the locker room.
All right, number 2, physicality. This team is physical. They have a toughness. They play a brand of football that I just effing love. I just love it. It's been so fun to watch the run game on tape. It's been just so fun to watch this offensive line. I know it's been fun for you to do these stories on, Ben Johnson showing these clips and these viral moments. It's just fun to have an offensive line that goes viral for the right reasons. A year ago, since we are doing this comparison, we were looking at clips on Twitter of 3 guys blocking nobody. Remember those moments? Or what was the one play where the center was blocking his teammate? Wasn't that?
Well, I just like when you talk about mistakes like this, I just visualize Nate Davis like blocking no one and looking right to left, Just
that name should be banned from this podcast.
But you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That clip?
Yes. And now we live in a world where they're not perfect. There's moments probably every week where, Jonah Jackson might have a bad rep or, we're joking about how John's jinxed Drew Dahlman. But we're also talking about 2 Pro Bowlers and Darnell Wright potentially being a snub, and they play. They're out there. They're dependable and they're physical. And meanwhile, you have a draft pick at left tackle who looks like he's a guy, like somebody, like more than a guy, like somebody that can be here and actually be that solution for a long time. So the physicality is impressive, and I think even to a lesser extent, you see it on defense too. Despite some of the struggles, it's still part of the brand of football. I think that'll probably be a goal going next year. Like if they could build the defensive line that has that same type of nastiness, but it's been fun.
Yeah. 2 Pro Bowlers up front, Drew Dahlman, Joe Thuney. The Bears are second in the league in rushing yards. Caleb Williams' sack percentage, just the total number of sacks has decreased significantly. That always starts up front. It's been an outstanding turnaround for the offensive line.
All right, number 3, belief. They're never out of it. This can apply in so many ways because first of all, they believe in the head coach, and that matters, right? So they believe in the head coach. They believe in the coaches. They believe in the staff. They believe in the position coaches. They believe in each other. And like, this is such a fundamental thing you need for successful teams in any sport. And they have that, but they also believe that they're never out of it, that in any game, they are going to win. It's why you were sitting there in the press box on Sunday night thinking they're going to win this game. And they didn't, but they all believed it. And Caleb believes it. Caleb, most importantly, is he gets the ball in his hands in the fourth quarter, believes that they're going to win. And so that is the exact opposite feeling you felt last year, was they found every way to lose those games in that 10-game losing streak. It's because they didn't believe in the coach. They didn't believe in each other. They didn't believe that they were going to win the game.
When you have that, you get what happens to the 2024 Bears. Your offensive coordinator is fired. Your head coach is fired. You get 10-game losing streaks, and you get a full house cleaning after the year. We talked about the resilience. This is part of their belief. They're never out of it. But I like how we were debating and using the word belief or resilience on this. Mm-hmm. Belief is more all-encompassing because it precedes the resilience really that's needed in those moments, because the Bears enter every game believing that they're in it, believing they have a game plan formulated by Ben Johnson that will give them a win. They believe in their head coach. That in itself is so vastly different than last year where we saw Matt Eberflus get fired after they yelled at him after Thanksgiving or on Thanksgiving.
It's just remarkable, the difference. All right, number 4, and I love this one because there just has not been enough of this really in the time that we've been doing this podcast, and that is development. I do not recall a year, Johnsy, where I have seen the Chicago Bears have this much development going on within a season. I'm talking the draft picks. I'm talking how, you can just run through them. And we're going to talk about Colston Loveland, I know, in depth with Waddle coming up. Ozzie Trapillo, Luther Burden is coming. Like, that's the development you want to see out of rookies. But I'm talking beyond that. Like, the Nashawn Wright story is incredible. DeMarco Jackson. There's so many examples. Theo Benedette, even though he's not starting anymore, to be this undrafted free agent from Canada, like to play meaningful snaps for this team and help them win games along the way. It doesn't really matter who's gone out. They've been able to weather the storm because behind the scenes, this coaching staff is turning guys that just stalled out or would be cut or just look lost when they finally get their opportunity to play. And they've turned a lot of these guys into, even if it's just a week or two, guys that look like starters. DeMarco Jackson winning NFC defensive player of the week and having people like me wonder why he's not on the field while these other linebackers are seemingly struggling right now. It's been very, very impressive, the development that's happened with this coaching staff. It's so important in this league, and it gives you hope that these young guys, that these talented guys, and even the ones that aren't really perform, like I'm not going to rule out that Ruben Hippolyte, who looks like a bust right now, might be able to help you next year, because give him time with his coaching staff. It goes back to belief. I believe they can work with him, and maybe Shamar Turner, who got hurt, can still be a guy. It's probably a name most fans have forgotten about at this point, because they are developing these players, and it's very, very impressive.
I would even expand this conversation to include some of the veterans, just because there's so many guys. Well, it's a new team in a sense under Ben Johnson, right? It's 5 new offensive linemen creating chemistry and coming together as one of the best units in the league, 4 or 5 weeks into the season. It's Cole Kmet finding a new role in this offense as really as a blocker and getting better as a blocker, becoming part of the Bears' second-ranked rushing game. Or even it's Tremaine Edmonds, who goes from the middle linebacker spot to the weak side linebacker spot and was having, in my opinion, a Pro Bowl caliber season before his injury. Like, it's taking these veterans, developing them in different ways, getting them to buy into different things, and creating the success that you're getting.
It's been impressive. And our final word, we get a little bit creative with this one, but I think it's going to make sense. Tactical, because there has to be something said for the job that Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen too. I know it's kind of a rough week where they just gave up 42 points, but the game planning and the week-to-week scheming, treating every game like it's its own entity, coming up with plans that make sense, and bigger picture too, just going back to OTAs and training camp, how they brought this team along, how they got to the point where they had accountability, where they had physicality, where they had belief, and where they were developing players. It's this tactical plan that Ben Johnson has had that works big picture and works week to week for these games, giving the players, and especially Caleb Williams, the tools and the keys to kind of solve the problem throughout the game. And it just sort of all encompasses the previous 4 words we've talked about. And so while it's a little bit more of a creative word, I think it does make sense, because they didn't have that last year, like in any sense.
You could even narrow this down to like certain plays, like even the free play. Believe it or not, that's tactical. That is, you talk to Ben Johnson, you talk to Caleb Williams, and you learn that. That was repped multiple times during the week, including during the Sunday morning walkthrough, that they believed in a certain situation after running the ball, they could get the 49ers to jump. And not only that, when they jump, this is what we're going to do. We're going to run 4 verticals, right? Caleb, if you have time, try to buy some. But we're not looking for first downs. We're looking for touchdowns. And they executed that to plan, which is crazy to say, because we've been covering the Chicago Bears for, I don't know, what, 11, 12 years?
Yeah.
But that's a tactical – that's an example of a tactical play under Ben Johnson, and it was a free play. But I think we all see how tactical Ben Johnson can be with his game plans. Just look at that Eagles game. With all the motions and all the shifts in the running game, that is a tactical execution of Vic Fangio's defense. And the Bears have a coach in Ben Johnson who brings that to the table. I have never covered a coach like this. Matt Nagy didn't provide this in his first year, second year, third year. Ben Johnson's providing it in year 1.
And this word has me going back and thinking about our interview with Ben Johnson back in training camp when he brought up the sniper analogy.
Yeah, like a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and there is some tacticality to this, where they're setting up the players, and Caleb to be that sniper. And sure as hell look like it in San Francisco. So
it's Ben Johnson saying, I don't like 50-50 balls because I believe in scheming guys open.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of my favorite things of the whole year. I don't believe in 50-50 balls. Yeah, scheme it so it's not a 50-50 ball.
Yeah.
Scheme it so it's like a 70-30 at least. So look, I thought that was a cool way to kind of end the year and us look back at all the, what is different about this team. And another big difference is playoffs. It's what it's all led to. And we're going to have the opportunity to do at least one extra week and hopefully more of shows with the extra games coming up. But we also have a great guest to bring on the show, and that is Tom Waddle, host of Waddle and Sylvie, former Bear. Depending on who you are, you believe he was on the 85 Bears.
I was going to make that joke too.
and I still think he's disrespected that, or you could say respected. But the fact that Luther Burden didn't want to wear 87, let's not forget that whole saga, because now he's taken off. He could be running out there with 87. But instead he's out there in 10, looking pretty good right now. There's more on Luther Burden later on in the show, by the way. But let's bring in Tommy Waddle. Always love talking to him. Just one of the best people in Chicago sports media, and always a great Bears guest. Here is Waddle. All right, let's bring in Tommy Waddle to Hoge Jahns now. And we were already talking a little bit offline about this, but it has been a very different year to be doing shows on a daily basis about the Chicago Bears. What's it been like for Waddle and Sylvie?
I think it's new, it's different. So, there's kind of that adjustment period, getting used to talking about who the potential postseason opponent's going to be versus who you're going to draft with the 4th overall pick. So I think this is new for all of us. But it's just been so exciting. Like, even, look, the loss in Santa Clara on Sunday night, obviously disappointed, but not demoralized, because it was one of the most entertaining games I've seen maybe since the Green Bay and Bears game the week before. So, like, all of these games have been so exciting. It's just been fun. I mean, I guess that's the best way to describe it. It's a very remedial way to look at it, I guess. But it's been fun to cover this team, and fortunately, it's going to extend beyond the regular season.
And for me, Tom, like, being at that game at Levi Stadium, yes, they lost. I expected them to win at the very end. I really did. And that feeling itself felt like progress. Like, not watching them get their doors blown off felt like progress over the years. I don't believe in, moral victories, but if you had to find one, like this season on the schedule, that felt like, I don't want to say it felt like a win, but like that felt like good things happening despite the loss.
Yeah, like I'm with you. I don't think it was a moral victory, but it was another sign of progress. It was, when was the last time you traveled to the 49ers place of work, whether it was in San Francisco or Santa Clara, and you saw a Bears team get involved in a shootout with one of the historically great offensive franchises in the National Football League? It doesn't happen. Last year, San Francisco did their thing. I think they scored 38. We scored 13. San Francisco again this year did their thing. They scored 48, but this year we scored 38. So, I think there's definitely progress that you can see that is being, made on a week-to-week basis. And guys, like, my overwhelming feeling week after week is you've got the quarterback, you've got the coach, you've got a future. Isn't it as simple as that? Like, the equation in this league is if you've got the quarterback and you've got the coach, you've got a future. And that's how I feel about this team.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing that kind of stood out to me too about even just like the optics of being in Santa Clara against the 49ers, who have one of those coaches too, you know what I mean? And Kyle Shanahan, because I keep coming back to how abruptly this could end still, obviously. And you look at the Lions, the team the Bears are playing this week, and I think there's a legitimate conversation we had there about, did their window already close? But it kind of turned out that maybe their coach was the one that the Bears have now in Ben Johnson, in that pairing between the quarterback and the coach. Well, in this case with the Bears, because he's your head coach, he's not going anywhere. And like, that's the one thing the Bears can kind of bank on here that is similar to the 49ers, in that coach, that guy to pair with your quarterback, is the head coach. That's what you want in this league. And it's still kind of crazy to sit back, Tommy, and be like, holy crap, the Bears might actually have this thing that we've been talking about forever.
Yeah. I mean, I go back to the game, guys, and not to be, too, illicit on a family show that I know you guys promote on a consistent basis. But if you watch the tape of that game the day after, it's football porn. It just is. I mean, you watch what Shanny does with his offense and his young quarterback against an inferior defense. Let's just face it, this Bears defense isn't where they need to be just yet. And what he does with formation and motion and getting guys open and then allowing his young quarterback to execute the plan. And then when the Bears get the ball and you see Ben Johnson do exactly the same thing with motion and formation against an inferior defense, it's just like, if you're a football junkie and you watch that, it's special. And, I think Caleb has made tremendous strides this year. I think the best thing that's happened to his football career was the fact that the Bears hired Ben Johnson. Caleb has got an unlimited amount of natural talent, but even guys with an unlimited amount of natural talent need to be developed. And I think the best thing that ever happened to Caleb was you brought in a guy who demands a lot from his guys. And I think that trust is the key word for me, because I think Ben said to all of them, look, if you trust us, and this is what we're going to ask you to do, trust in what we're asking you to do, work your asses off, and there will be a return on your investment. And from a player's perspective, when you see that trust turn into a return on investment, that's when you get really excited. And I think you can see it with the quarterback now. But think about the growth that can still happen with this guy too. He's making all of these plays. He's one of the most clutch quarterbacks in the league in year 2. He's such a playmaker. He's had 11 games, guys, where he's completed less than 60% of his passes. He's dead last in completion percentage of all the qualified guys. And yet they're 11-5. He's making all these plays. So, if you can clean up some of that stuff and you can marry that with his playmaking ability, now you have a guy that scares the hell out of the entire league for years to come.
So he's closing in on Eric Kramer's record. You played with Eric Kramer, right, in 1994, a year before he set the Bears record. Like, what do you make of all this? I mean, first, your former teammate's record standing this long, and he wasn't even here this long, and here's Caleb Williams finally on the verge of hitting 4K for the Bears.
Yeah, with no disrespect to Eric, he was a great player. This is like one of those hurdles that you just kind of step over. You don't have to leap over it, because it's been, and Eric was a fabulous player, but I think Eric would tell you as well that, the fact that this organization has never had a 4,000-yard passer or a 30 touchdown passing season by a quarterback is still kind of crazy. And I'm one that I don't think that that's high on Ben Johnson's list for Sunday against Detroit, but I think it's on his list. I really do. I think Ben wants Caleb to eclipse this number. I think, there is a certain degree of accomplishment that comes with that, while they will become the final team that can boast that. I think it is something that a young first-time head coach in his first season as a head coach, if he can, shepherd Caleb Williams to that mark, it's just, it's another sense of accomplishment. It's another, notch on the belt. It's another thing that they can really build on going forward. At the start of the year, guys, I really, everyone talked about it. I don't care. I mean, the numbers are the numbers. I think if he falls short of 40 or 4,000 yards and short of 30 touchdowns, I think they're going to beat the snot out of the Lions on Sunday. So they'll have a 12-win season going into the postseason. And so those marks, those thresholds aren't really meaningful to me, but I think inside the building, quietly, they are to them.
Yeah, I think it's something good to kind of not have to talk about in future years, though, if you can get it done. So I agree. Like, it's not a massive priority, but if you can knock it off the checklist on Sunday too, that would be a good thing. I want to talk about some other aspects of this offense. I know you were high on Colston Loveland coming into the year. You like the pick, and it was interesting to see him get going at the start of the year despite missing time with the injury, coming off the injury in the offseason. There was some risk to the pick. And then all of a sudden he started playing, and it seemed to start clicking pretty quickly for him.
Yeah, I was a bigger. I liked the kid from Penn State, Tyler Warren. I thought he was. I had no idea who Fannin was, who's in Cleveland now, is doing a fabulous job. I think the league's got some really talented young tight ends, but the guy that stood out most to me was Loveland, because I just looked at him as a wide receiver in a tight end's body, and to think what Ben could do with him, and I know that he had Sam Laporta in Detroit. I think Colston. I'm not saying he's a better player than Sam. I think he's a better athlete. So I think he gives them a dynamic element that maybe he can take to another level. I thought to backtrack real quick too. I think one of the underrated things that Ben has done, and his whole staff, it's not just Ben, but it's the whole staff. They've done a great job bringing these rookies along. And I know Burden had a little bit of an injury, but Monangai, if you look at the usage with Loveland and Monangai, and Burden and Trapillo was in a different situation, but you have to admire how they brought them along slowly, and they're peaking at the right time. And some of that may be in a product, Colston had the shoulder injury, but I don't think they rushed these guys. They didn't have to. And I think really how they've brought them along has been really impressive. But Loveland, to me, everyone was wringing their hands at the start of the season. We picked the wrong guy. I mean, you guys know this is the business we're in. And I was just like,
this other Adam was.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just like, let it breathe. And even I thought at the start, I was telling, Sylvie and the guys, when you'd watch the film early in the season, it's like, I don't think Colston's really playing free and loose. I think he's kind of thinking too much. He's faster than he's playing. And then as time went on and he became, used more frequently, now you see he's just playing, guys. He's just playing like the athlete that he is. He is such a mismatch. They used him early in the season. You split him out. You get him locked on to a safety or even a linebacker. They use him in the red zone. They never attach him to the line. Cole's there. He's their inline wide tight end. Colston's a guy that you're going to split out wide and use him in mismatches. And that's why I liked him, because I knew they were going to keep Cole. Cole's your inline wide tight end. He plays the Tyler Warren role and plays it well. And I give him a ton of credit. While he's not getting a lot of the attention, he's blocking his ass off and doing a lot of good stuff. But Colston's a guy to me that I think is going to be a difference maker in this league for years to come. He's 21. And he's such a good athlete. He's such a mismatch. And even that fourth down play, they split him out. If you watch that tape, he comes off the line and he creates width because he comes with an outside release to make sure that the hole that Caleb's got is a bigger hole, because the linebacker is sitting about just over the head of the tackle. So he knows I got to get some width in my release to create that win, and he doesn't. He's 21. And then he catches the ball. I was having this conversation with someone. I don't know if he's left-handed or right-handed, but to catch the ball away from your body on kind of a missile, the way it was thrown, if he's a right-handed guy, that's a tough catch, because in that situation, your left hand is the dominant hand and your right hand is just the guide hand. So to me, that's a tougher catch, especially when it's fourth down and the ball's coming at a high rate of speed. So, it's little things like that the kid, he's just playing now. I don't think he's thinking.
One observation I've had from Colston Loveland. So we as we walk to the locker room, this even goes back to training camp. Training camp or leaving practice, who's one of the last guys out there? Colston Loveland. Leaving practice now, who's one of the last guys out there? Colston Loveland. Here we are, the media, walking into the locker room, and you can look out the windows at the practice field, and there's Colston Loveland still catching balls off the jugs machine, or he's out there with Durham Smythe, going over different things. It's something. And now you have Luther Burden coming on. This is starting to look, to me, it's kind of to really forward this conversation. Ryan Poles, where do you think he fits in this convo of the Bears' success this year? The offensive line is good. Ben Johnson is fantastic. Caleb Williams is coming along. The draft picks are hitting. He's in this.
Yeah, I think you have to. I mean, if you're just being, You're being stubborn if you're not willing to give him credit. You're being stubborn because maybe you had the stance. I'm not saying you guys, but I just say an individual. And I've been very critical of him as well. In fact, I was on the team that said I didn't think a contract extension was necessary. I thought it was premature. I thought that, hey, why not just let this thing breathe? Let's see how he works with Ben. And if things go well, then you extend him. But I didn't think it was necessary at the time. And I said it. And I don't regret saying it, because I just thought that based on what had happened previously, it just wasn't warranted. With that said, he has done a fantastic job. I think also you have to check your ego at the door, and you have to listen to your coach. And, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every pick and every signing and every trade was a direct result of Ben pounding the table and saying, I want him, I want him. I don't think they trade for Jonah Jackson if Ben doesn't have the relationship with him. So there is an input there. But the fact that they created the mess, in my opinion, on their offensive line. They neglected it. They didn't spend enough resources, but they fixed their own problem. And I think about it, guys, like one of the under-recognized, or one of the things that I think has been most important to their success offensively has not just been the fact that their offensive line has been fixed, but they're all playing every single snap of every single game. And I don't think there's another line in the National Football League that can say that proudly. They've had a bit of a revolving door at left tackle, but you tell me, how many snaps have they missed from Joe Thuney out to Darnell Wright? Not very many. So I give him so much credit for acknowledging that we got a problem. We got to fix it. I got to open up my mind. I got to listen. You hire Ben Johnson. I think that, without Kevin Warren in the building, you probably don't make that move financially, but Ryan Poles gets credit for that. You get the trickle-down credit for the staff that Ben Johnson has put together, which to me is spectacular. It's not just Ben, it's all of them. There's still work to do. The Adengbo signing was something that obviously didn't work. The trade for Sweat, he's got 9.5 sacks. I'd argue that, there aren't many deep offenses in the league that are game planning for him specifically. So he really still hasn't had the impact that he should have based on the contract they gave him. But yeah, I listen, I think Ryan's going to get Executive of the Year votes. I don't know if he ultimately will win it, and I think it's just, I think it's due. Again, I'm going to criticize you or be critical of you when things are bad, and I'm going to praise you when things are good. That's the way it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, and kind of bringing this all the way back to the 49ers, that would be great to have that Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch sort of relationship where Kyle obviously has a lot of say in things, and they haven't gotten everything right. They had a massive quarterback draft pick that they somehow survived, and executives and head coaches rarely ever survive that. So that's a credit to them, but maybe that's what the Bears have now as well. Let's quickly, before we, let you go here, Tommy, talk about the game this week, because I know you mentioned it earlier that you think that the Bears can take care of business against the Lions. I'm kind of along my early thoughts this week are along those same lines. Like I get the fear that Dan Campbell's gonna want to get his revenge or whatever, want to stick it to Ben Johnson here and get his team going in the offseason on a good note. That sounds nice.
Yes.
I feel like they already did that when they put up 52 points earlier in the season on the Bears, and they're kind of a mess right now. So whatever that is, like that motivation or that thinking, I feel like also applies to Ben Johnson and the Bears going right back at the Lions, and they're in a much better place to go out there and have success on Sunday at Soldier Field.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. Let's just factor that element of this game out of it. Let's just look at it as two teams facing off. The Lions have lost 3 in a row, 4 out of 5 and 7 out of 11. Their last 6 games, their defense is giving up 30 points per game. They can't stop anybody. They've got a really good pass rush. I think they rank 4th in sacks, but their secondary has been decimated. They play a lot of man, and they're not equipped to do so. So they give up a lot of big plays. Offensively, it's not the same group. The last 3 weeks, they're averaging 51 rushing yards per game. They can't get things unlocked because their offensive line is a shell of what it used to be, and they're dealing with injuries. Jared Goff's been sacked 8 times the last 2 weeks. They went to Minnesota last week in a winner, loser, you're out, win, you stay alive situation. And Max Brosmer, or whatever his name is, and the Vikings beat them 23-10. So you're going to tell me that Detroit team's going to go on the road again, go outside at Soldier Field against this offense, and they're going to find a way to get the best of our team based on all that I've said. And I agree with you 100% that Ben, after having 52 put on his squad in week 2, I think that the revenge factor is flowing through his veins more than it is through Dan Campbell's veins. And I'm not going to say that the Lions are going to come here and quit. They won't. They've got a lot of character on that team, but they've got nothing to play for. Our team still wants to secure the 2nd seed. Our team is playing better football right now. So I'm just not buying what maybe I'm stupid because there's a reason why all of the hotels in Vegas are lined with gold. But when the number came out at Bears -2.5, I was like, they're giving free money away.
To me, like things you said earlier, things you said now, like the Bears have a coach that like belongs in the conversations of the Shanahans and McVays. Like if he's not there, he will be soon enough. It just feels that way. Like the Bears have a coach, as you described, that probably has revenge running through his veins and wants to drop 50 on his former team after what happened last week. He wants to get 50 on the scoreboard. He wants to get his quarterback 4,000 passing yards. And you think this is all attainable. Like, honestly, having this type of conversation, like it keeps radio hosts off lonely swings in their backyard.
Yes, it does.
This is different, right? Like, like how, for lack of a better way of putting it, like how cool is it that we're talking about the Chicago Bears this way with a coach that could do this? It's
so special. And like, I think 2025 is gravy for me because, I mean, I'll go back even a few weeks ago and I was on the air saying, look, I think they're ahead of themselves a little bit here schedule or record-wise. But I'm so thrilled and optimistic about this, the possibility of this being sustainable. And I think it is. I think it is totally sustainable. And I think, in fact, there's a chance they'll be even better when they identify some of the issues on defense and clean up some of those things. So I think that going forward, this story is going to live for a very long time. But to look at where they're at now, I'm not putting any ceiling on them. Like I'd say dream away because you've got a championship caliber offense. I just don't know unless you're taking it away 2 or 3 times per game. I just don't know if you can get to the top of the mountain. You're going to have to do some special things taking the ball away. Because defensively, like it's just they're struggling to stop people. I mean, go back to the last 2 games. Like the 49ers put up 500 yards and 42 points on our defense. The week before, thank God they were able to take the ball away down at the goal line and they stopped them in the red zone. But the Packers didn't punt, for Christ's sake, So like the last couple of weeks, I sit on the edge of my seat when I'm watching the defense. But I'm at the bar doing shots when the offense has got it because I know they're going to score. And it's just been, I mean, it's been such a fun year for all of us to cover them. And it's legit in so many ways. I don't think this is a one-off. I think that this is something that they're going to build on. And look, I do think that you have to take, when you get these moments, you have to take them seriously and you have to go for it the best you can because you never know when you're going to get back. Ask the Commanders about that. Success can be fleeting in this league. But I think, again, I go back to what I said to you guys earlier. When you've got the quarterback and you've got the coach, you've got a future. And they've got that finally in this town.
Tom Waddle, appreciate your time this morning, and especially because we actually took up about an hour of it. So
my fault.
Not a problem.
We thank you very much. And as always, we will be listening to Waddle and Sylvie, and we'll, as long as we keep Sylvie off that swing.
Yeah, keep him off the swing. Thank you, guys. Happy New Year to you and your families.
You too,
Happy
Tom.
New Year.
Thank you. One touchdown can change everything. The crowd, the momentum, the game itself. It never gets old. Feel that same rush with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Missouri listeners, Luther Burden fans, Listen up. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in the Show Me State. Here's the best part. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Hoge and Jahns. That's code Hoge and Jahns. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms or responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
And if you're looking for a winter escape, we got the place for you. It has adventure, comfort, and a touch of magic. Sand Valley, it's not just a great golf destination. It is a year-round experience, whether you're planning a weekend trip for two, an adventure for your small group, or a memorable family getaway. Sand Valley is the perfect winter destination. You could spend your days snowshoeing across peaceful trails, fat tire biking, ice skating on a pond, or laughing your way down the sledding hill. They even got court tennis, the original and oldest of all the racket sports, dating back more than 900 years, and curling as well. When that chill sets in, you can cozy up inside one of Sand Valley's restaurants or bars where good food and warm company always hit the spot. Winter is calling. Sand Valley is ready to welcome you. Book your trip now at sandvalley.com. That's sandvalley.com. All right, Johnsy, it is that time for some numbers to think about. We bring in Katie Langen, who is our awesome producer and has a new microphone. She's
Yes.
sound even better.
Even better. All right. 3 stats today, all offensive stats, courtesy of Next Gen Stats. The Bears offense has recorded a 48.6% success rate on design runs in the second half of games this season, the highest rate in the NFL. They have also averaged 1.5 rushing yards before contact per design run in the second half, the 6th most in the NFL. Both Kyle Monangai, 49.4%, and DeAndre Swift, 49.1%, have made an impact, as they have recorded the 4th highest and 7th highest rushing success rates, respectively, in the second half of games among running backs with at least 50 such carries.
You know, Johns, I have a feeling that like a stat like that is exactly why Ben was critical of himself for the sequence of play calls before that field goal in the fourth quarter.
You're saying he should have ran the ball more.
Yeah. And I think that, and I don't even think that's me saying that. I think that was him saying that. You know, he you lean is, and those numbers that Katie just gave us those are second half numbers. And you have that success rate. You get down to the 10-yard line, lean on what's successful, you know, on at least one of those plays. So, and I think that that's probably why he was looking back at himself critically there, because it is one of those things that the Bears, I feel like, can always fall. I know he wants to hit the explosive plays and dial up the shot plays. And it sure as hell worked in overtime against the Packers when, you know, a lot of people like a Greg Braggs Jr. were sitting there screaming at the television to run the ball. But there are times where you do want to run the ball. You do want to lean on that success rate and what's working.
When I heard that stat, when Katie was reading it, I was thinking of the offensive line, just how they're getting better, potentially better in the second half, whether that's wearing out their opposition or Ben Johnson getting a better feel for the opposition and what his offensive line can do against them. But I think, which game was it? Was it the Eagles game or the Packers game where Ben Johnson is asked about second half adjustments and like what he made? He goes, "We didn't change anything about our plan. We just stuck with it."
I think it was probably the Packer game because they struggled in the first half.
Yeah, the first one in Lambeau.
First Packer game. And because they were down, 14-3, and then
they were the better team in the second half.
They were down in both of the games and then came back. But yes, I think in both of those games, the Eagles and in the first Packers game, you could just see it on TV even. Yeah. Just like they're wearing these guys down.
Yeah. I would argue that the Bears are built to wear down teams. And to your point, it's probably why he's frustrated with his own sequence of play calling there in Santa Clara.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, Katie, we got for the second one. I think this is the one I really like.
Yeah, you like this one. First year wideout Luther Burden has averaged 2.8 yards per route run this season, the third most among wide receivers to have run at least 200 routes, trailing only Puka Nacua 3.9 and JSN 3.8. His efficiency has spiked over the past 4 games with Rome sidelined, as he has caught 18 of 22 targets for 289 yards and a touchdown across just 68 routes run over that span, 4.3 yards per route. In week 2 against the Lions, Burden played nearly as many snaps on special teams, 9, as he did on offense, 11, and managed a single reception for 5 yards across 2 targets and 6 routes run.
So Dan Campbell was talking about how the Bears are different and named up, a bunch of different things compared to what they were back in week 2. But I think that this is certainly on that list. What Luther Burden has become. I like being able to quantify in those numbers there what we are seemingly looking at and how dangerous he can be when they get the ball into his hands. The way he stopped on a dime and cut back to the inside late in that game on such a key play was insanely impressive. To be third to the 2 guys that this year have been the 2 best wide receivers in the league, Puka Nacua, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, is pretty impressive when you really think about it. And then, those numbers more recently actually trending even higher than those guys. They have to find a way to keep getting Luther Burden the ball and use him as a weapon right now, as they seemingly struggle to do so sometimes with DJ Moore and are dealing with the injury to Rome Odunze.
So in week 2, you want to guess how many snaps Luther Burden was on the field against the Lions?
Well, I'm going to say it was 11.
Pro Football Reference has 12.
Oh, well, now we have a battle between next gens because Katie just.
That's right.
Did you say it was 11?
Yeah.
It was 9 special
I'm
teams
still
snaps?
asleep. Yes.
Yeah.
He made 9 special team snaps. He just played 38. His catch percentage leads the Bears, like just in terms of targets and then the catches that are made after that. Like we talked about some of the missed passes, whether it's the Lamade Zacchaeus, Rome Odunze had some drops early on in the year, but Luther Burden leads the Bears at 78.6% in catch percentage this season.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a good development, and they got to keep it going. All right, what's our last one?
All right. Colston Loveland has been among the most efficient receivers league-wide when aligned in the slot, averaging 2.9 yards per route, the most among rookie tight ends with at least 100 such routes in a season during the next-gen stats era since 2016.
Well, and I think that goes back to what Waddle was talking about. I mean, he's a receiver in a tight end body. And he's hanging in there from a blocking standpoint too. But you put him in situations in the slot where, as we broke down in our insider analysis column today, and you run that post wheel that they ran and put him in a bind against a linebacker that I'm not even I don't know if that guy was actually blitzing and bailed because he recognized or he was just bluffing, but it didn't really matter. It's a mismatch. It's like putting a good wide receiver on a linebacker. That's just, it's not going to work because Colston Loveland's going to beat you. And then when you have the quarterback deliver a dime the way he did, it's just a great play.
This stat is an example of Ben Johnson being tactical. It's why they wanted to draft Colston Loveland, to be a weapon like he is. And I think he's just getting started too. Like if you look at his snap count, it's going to go up. His target load, that's definitely going up. You obviously see the highlight reel plays. Those are increasing. Do you know he's got more touchdown catches than Tyler Warden?
I did not actually.
Now you know that.
Yeah.
Now you know that. He is second on the Bears in receptions now too.
Well, that is That's actually almost a little alarming, to be honest with you.
You don't think it's a good thing? I think it's good. I'm fine with it. So he's got.
Wait, so who's number one now?
DJ Moore leads the Bears with 49 catches. Colston Loveland is next with 48. Roma Dunze and Luther Burden are tied with 44.
Didn't Rome have
Rome had a vast lead early on in the season.
Yeah, he was he was off to a huge lead the first couple weeks, but obviously he's been hurt. So, but it's like it does get you excited that if they can get Rome back healthy, and let's assume that Luther Burden's okay because he did get hurt on that last play in Santa Clara, get him going at this rate, Loveland going at the current rate. It's going to be hard to, I don't know how you're going to stop everybody.
Well, let's go back to week 2. Do you know what Colston Loveland did against the Detroit Lions in Detroit?
Not really. I kind of blacked that game out of my memory, I think.
Okay. 1 target, no catches.
Yeah, okay.
And now he's coming off a game where he had a season high 10 targets, had 6 receptions for 94 yards and 1 touchdown. So obviously things are, as Dan Campbell explained, different for the Bears offense now.
All right, those are some numbers to think about. Some good stuff every single week from Katie. We have to take our last time out, come back, and close out our last show of 2025 here on New Year's Eve. But first,
Adam, we're still in the holiday season. You know, it's a time for giving, but doesn't mean you can't get something yourself. Between road trips to see family, hosting holiday dinners, Christmas Eve parties, and countless grocery store and gas runs, this season can put a strain on your wallet. The free Upside app helps you earn extra cash back in things you're already doing, like filling up at the pump, grabbing dinner on the go, or just making one more trip to the grocery store. With Upside, you're keeping more in your pocket during the season you spend the most. And yes, it's cash back. Over $1 billion. It's $1 billion given back to users so far. There are over 100,000 gas stations, grocery stores, and restaurants on the Upside app. I'm telling you, just check it out. So much in there. So Upside is giving back $1 billion to its users. To find out how much you could earn, download the free Upside app and use promo code Hoge Jahns to get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. That's an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas using promo code Hoge Jahns.
And it's a pleasure to welcome a new sponsor to Hoge and Jahns. How much time are you spending each month trying to manage your finances? Well, Rocket Money helps get you your finances organized and under control. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions. We all it's so hard to keep track of all these different subscriptions, and they trick you into forgetting about them. And that's why Rocket Money is going to help you. It's going to monitor your spending, help lower your bills so you can grow your savings, which we all want to do. Just think about all those ridiculous subscriptions and hidden fees you're probably paying for and can't even remember. Rocket Money can automatically categorize transactions across accounts and lets you create custom categories to help reveal your spending patterns. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join rocketmoney.com/Hoge. That's rocketmoney.com/HOGE. rocketmoney.com/HOGE. John's, little news to end the show. Coming out of Philadelphia, our friend Jeff McLean does a great job covering the Eagles for the Inquirer. Tweeting this morning that the Eagles are expected to rest quarterback Jalen Hurts and most of the starters in the season finale against the Commanders. There's been some talk about this with the Eagles this week because the Eagles can technically still get that 2 seed, but they would need the Bears to also lose to the Lions. And in both of the years that they've gone to the Super Bowl under Nick Sirianni, they got a bye week, essentially in week 18 going into the playoffs. Now they also had home games that year, so there's the debate going on in Philly with our friends at PHLY was that because you had a rest or was it because you got home field advantage, and that helped you get there? So I get the debate, but Jeff's pretty plugged in, and he's reporting that Jalen Hurts and the starters are going to sit against the Commanders. Now, Commanders aren't great, so I don't know that necessarily guarantees a win for Washington. I'm sure that they would also like to help their draft positioning a little bit too. But it is newsworthy because if the Bears were to, for some reason, lose the Lions, an Eagles loss would clinch the 2 seed for the Bears anyway. So this at least increases the likelihood the Bears will be okay with that 2 seed.
And the Bears want that 2 seed, as Caleb Williams explained after the game. They want to maintain it for as long as they want to maintain home field advantage for as long as they can. Here's a hypothetical for you. Do you think that Ben Johnson will get up, like, say it's the second half, they're up by 10. Does he tactically, to use that word again, do something differently to protect certain players if he sees, like, the scoreboard and the Eagles are winning? Like, what do you think he does during the game?
Look, we're still kind of getting to know Ben. He doesn't seem like the type of guy who's going to call the dogs off. You know what I mean? Like, and I think when he says we're going to play to win, like, he means that. Like, I don't think that just because of whatever's going on in that Eagles game played simultaneously with the Bears game, that he's going to be okay losing. What I do think could be on the table, and I do think would be smart, would be, do you limit James a little bit? Do you, which they've already kind of been doing, do you, I don't know if Rome's going to play this week, but are you, does that, if Rome is ready to play, does he, just knowing that the Eagles are not playing their starters, help you err on the side of caution in a case-by-case basis? I think that would be smart. But I think for the most part, they're still going to make sure that they win the football game against the Lions. And I think there's also something to be said for that whole rust versus rest conversation. You want to be going into, if you're playing the Packers again, it would be nice to rest everybody, but it'd also be nice to go into that game clicking on all cylinders and playing better defensively too than you did against the 49ers.
There's 2 players that come to mind that, like, you want to get through this game as healthy as possible. One is Jalen Johnson. Like, can Tyreek Stevenson handle the entire second half? Or is there one possession? He gets an extra possession to rest Jalen Johnson a little bit more so he doesn't risk further injury, so he feels better about playing in the playoffs when you might need him for the first time to play a full game. And then it's DeAndre Swift, who has dealt with, a groin and hamstring injuries? Did I got that right? Really, throughout the year?
Yeah. Definitely the groin. I don't really remember the hammy. But
Britton Brown come in and get like 5 or 6 carries in the fourth quarter if this game's at, if you're up by 10 or 14 points.
Yeah.
Like, even Kyle Monangai, like, I understand, like, you could turn the ball over to him, but maybe 1 or 2 carries goes to Brown just to preserve some of the contact on the rookie running back, not to risk anything because you need him in the playoffs. Like, those are the 2 players I'm thinking about.
Don't forget DJ Moore's been dealing with a back.
Yes.
Even if that is just a bad bruise for Luther Burden, that it's probably going to affect him on Sunday, even if he's able to play. I think Cole Kmet's been playing through some stuff this year. He was dealing with the back at one point. So that's why I think it's newsworthy, and I wanted to bring up before this podcast was over, because I think it can impact some individual decisions. I don't think it is something that is necessarily talked about with the team. I think you keep the same mentality. You are playing to win the game. Go out there, get revenge against the Lions, head into the playoffs on a high note. If you can kind of behind the scenes make some smart decisions with the training staff at the same time, that's a perfect world. But I will be shocked if all of a sudden this changes the Bears' plan and Ben Johnson's plan I love the way he answered that question on Monday.
Playing to win?
It was it was just one sentence. It was, we're playing to win the game.
7 words, 7, 8 words. Yes, we're playing to win.
Play to win the game. This is been fun in 2025. I feel like we won the year.
Let's go.
Let's keep it going.
Let's take over in 2026.
2026. Help us out. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button on the way out. If you're listening to the podcast, rate and review the pod. We truly, truly do appreciate every single one of you that has helped make this podcast what it is, and has, accepted and embraced the transition to CHGO. It's been great having Katie, our producer, with us in 2025 as well. She started late last season and has been learning and growing, and fits with the development, right, of the Chicago Bears. There's been development going.
Very tactical.
Great way to put it. No, it's been fun. I can't wait for 2026 and some big things to come.
Yeah.
Hopefully some more live shows, in-person events for Hoge Jahns.
Maybe a Super Bowl. I don't know.
Maybe a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's all on the table. Hope every one of you has a safe and happy new year. Be smart out there tonight, but have fun at the same time. And we'll be back on Friday to preview this game against the Lions, as we always do. It's week 18. See if the Bears can do what they did to start 2025 and get a win to start the new year. We'll talk to you on Friday.
Happy